Hello everyone and welcome to another episode in the Community Games Showcase for the Expanding Fronts mod. So if you don't know, these games are organised within their Discord in the Community Lobbies section. And in the 1v1 sort of category here, we've had KissM and Interceptor play a couple of games, so we're going to be covering those today. And starting things off, I don't know the exact name of this map, it's Ash 2, which was a 3-player small map here. It's a little bit bigger than you normally would for a 1v1, but maybe give them more resources and a lot more space to build things. Though looking at the map, you don't get too much space. As you can see, it's a series of islands here. Sort of a little bit like a forced deployment in a sense, but there's some extra like islands for the players to maybe position some buildings, some defensive structures, some shipyards, and there's plenty of fish here that's been added to the map. So though you're losing a lot of land to build on, you're getting something back there with all the water here, getting all the fish and resources. You can build like an economy of utility trawlers early, and sort of boom things a bit earlier in the game than you normally would be able to, since each shipyard that you build in is like having an extra command center. There's a little bit of food for them to get things started here, so they can have the berries here, and there's the Fulumpa to eat as well. And there could be some shorefish that you could maybe get like a food processor on if you wanted to as well. There's there's actually 4 Fulumps, didn't catch those. A couple of Eopies here, you get a nice little food processor here, maybe a bit later, some shorefishers and eat the Eopies. The other side of things, we've got KissM, who's lured off his Fulump, so he's cutting a bit of corners here, and he's not really like... I'd say it's more efficient to do this, right, especially with so much lure, just to lure them over and just focus on eating the Fulump sets first, and then your early carbon can go towards an earlier carbon processor. Whereas with what Interceptor's done here, he's kind of thrown that carbon into the food processor. But the berries are the sort of slowest food source that you can get, really. Like, for example, if you wanted to keep your command center going, with the berries you would need to have 8 workers pretty much sort of dedicated to munching the berries at a time. Where with a lot of the other food sources you can get away with just 5 to 6 workers. So in the early stages of the game when you don't have many workers and you've got to split the sort of division of labour, you can be a lot more efficient doing other things. You see KissM is just sort of luring his Fulumps with a scout, which is pretty smart here because there's not really much else for the scout to do. It doesn't take long for you to have fully scouted the island here. So it saves him having to run a worker over to do it, and the workers can just focus on eating the food here. And a little bit worried for Interceptor in the sense that he's had his command center was a little bit idle before here. Mainly because he's not really doing any sort of food dropping with his Fulumpa set. He's just waiting for them to get up to 35 food and deposit on their own. Whereas typically what you would do next to the command center is you could just garrison the workers, and when they do garrison, they deposit the food straight away, no matter how much they're holding. And then you can use that to just make sure that you've always got a worker queued up and there's no idle time in the command center. Because you get a lot more food than you can spend on workers. So your only thing holding you back there is how long it takes to make the workers. So I want to keep it efficient. If I want getting munched out, I'm going to have to speed this up, I think, because these games might be a little bit longer, particularly being an island map. We've kind of gone through everything that we want to talk about in the early game. Well, not seeing a carbon processor here from KissM. He's got a lot of workers on food here. And almost just in time there. A little bit far away from the command center, he gets that other Fulump just as they finish off the second one. Is there another one kicking around? Yeah, he's there. And we've got the carbon processor now for Interceptor. Getting himself a little bit supply blocked here. Just to do the classic 3-worker build of a house. And munching through his Fulumps now. Right, we'll do some carbon processor drop now for Kiss. I'm not seeing any shipyards out of anyone yet. I assume we might see it out of Interceptor first, since he was quicker to get his carbon processor down. Dropping another house now, he doesn't want to have doesn't want to get housed again like before. You see these porgs just flying about, being annoying. Patrolling the forest. And there's the shipyard. We don't see one yet for Kiss. Oh, there we go. And he's got the Gungans as well, so we should get them cheaper, right? Is that still a thing? I'm not even looking at the right sieve. Yeah, so shipyards cost 15% less. And what we have to remember in expanded fronts is they get a shorefish bonus for the workers as well, so certainly a cool thing to do for the early food with the food processors. And the players are going to want to get a power core as well to go alongside the shipyard so they can get those utility trawlers out a lot faster, because the unpowered state of buildings is just so slow. Now, what I'd always recommend is while you're waiting, at least get one started, because you can get up to like 25-35% of the way through by the time the power kicks in. Just get that little edge there, because there's nothing else really to do with the excess carbon that they got there. See, it builds a lot quicker there. Crazy speeds with power core. And both players start to get their utility trawlers out. And that will allow a lot more workers to be on things like Nova, ore, and particularly carbon. The utility trawlers just sort of strictly bringing in food from the fish. I'm going to get a second shipyard here. I think I myself would probably go up to about 3 shipyards here. I like what KissM's doing here, but he's sort of splitting them up. Because they do serve as a food deposit point, so if you split them up you can cover more areas. And that way your utility trawlers could be a lot more efficient, right? Because they kind of have to go all the way over to the fish, gather it up, and then run it back. So if you had them running all the way from here to here, it would be quite inefficient. But if you had one here, you know, they could just 3 times less the distance. And we got KissM off to T2, Interceptor as well. I think T2s are both hitting T2 about the same sort of time there. 27 workers here. KissM's got a bit of a worker lead, 3 workers ahead. It's not going to be as dramatic as it would be in a game that's just workers. Having, you know, shipyards and utility trawlers as well, it's going to mean a lot less. You see a transport dropping some workers across into the center here for KissM. Don't know if he's on his way to T3. No, nowhere near. So I wonder what he's planning to do, if he's maybe going to try and get some holocrons or something like that. Looks like they all are in the center. Except maybe one. We've got one over here on this little island. So that's 2, 3, 4, and then 5 somewhere here. Or maybe not. It's a small Jedi ruins. There's number 5. It's also white on the map. Don't know what these do, if they do anything. Some frigates being built here from Interceptor. I don't know if he's going to maybe put some pressure on. See that KissM's got a couple of frigates himself though. It takes a while to get to your opponent, right? Because if you look at how elongated this center mass is, you've got to go all the way around. So KissM being very smart, just making sure he's got enough boats to defend himself here. He's got a fair bit to work with in micro. He's got some sensor boils here, just sort of keeping an eye on things. And it looks like Interceptor sent his sort of one to each side. He's doing a bit of scouting with it. If we go back to him and we look at his fog of war. So he's sort of scouting around the outskirts, seeing what's going on, what his opponent's got. But he has to run this one away because the 3 frigates have found him here on defense. He's even got an OPC killer chasing him away as well. And that's going to get killed off here. And they're going to take that out because they don't want that harassing the utility trawlers as they try to fish. But you can see KissM getting a lot of vision set up here in the centre. He's built all these sensor posts. Or sentry posts. He's got a little forward here. He's got mech factory, war center, built his tech buildings around there. And halfway off to T3, so he's definitely ahead, but there's a lot of frigates that have just shown up here from Interceptor now that he's worked out exactly where all the boats are and stuff. And he's kind of getting on top of KissM here. He's going to have a bit of a defender's advantage though, and particularly it matters when it's these low numbers. Because there's not enough DPS from the frigates from Interceptor here, if he had like 6 or so, he could just sort of one-tap these as they come in one at a time. But when it's a low amount, they can come in, and it takes so long for them to trade away the health pool, so he's going to win that off the defender's advantage. And he is now T3. Interesting to see what he does for that, if he's maybe going to get some air. Air's super strong in this game, and it's even stronger on maps like this, right? It's going to do a lot better. The mech factory isn't going to do too much unless his opponent does land in the centre. But for now, he's got the centre entirely to himself. And I think the best thing that you could really be doing here with the centre to yourself is grabbing up all the holocrons. And then you can start building up that Nova that you get from that. You can trade it off for ore and just build static defense everywhere. I'm assuming they maybe picked their civs here, this being this really good water map. So they've both gone for civs that are very strong on the water. But you maybe give the edge for a lot of the game to the Naboo simply because they can get the... well, actually I would absolutely, massively give the edge to Naboo really. Not only can they get, you know, like T4 air as an option, so you can use, you know, air in the mid game to control things, and then you can scale that up into shielded air later at T4. But what's really strong for them there is having access to Jedi Masters. Now, they're a really good way to deal with boats, the tyranny of like boats on your coastline and stuff, just because you can completely convert them, and that kind of constitutes basically a kill. A really good way to deal with the cruisers if they're, you know, in range of the conversion there. Gungans do, you know, if they do get set up, they get like, you know, ridiculously cheap boats. I don't think resources are really going to be an issue on this map though. When you look at the center, all that ore, all that Nova, all the holocrons that can be grabbed up. The biggest limiting factor is probably going to be carbon, but there is really healthy clusters, and if you look at the starter islands as well, it's not very typical for like a forced deployment map or something like that. You see a little bit of a skirmish here with a destroyer thrown, and you know, the destroyer does really well in low numbers, particularly when the frigates ignore it to try and shoot at the strike mechs that have landed here from the transport. And this is causing some problems here at home for Interceptor because he doesn't have a mech destroyer. He doesn't have a mech factory to build mech destroyers here. He's got these turrets that he's sort of built on the coastline, and he's going to have to try and lean on them to defend his workers here. Kind of really most of his economy here, he's not really got set up in the centre. You can see he's trying to build an airbase. Maybe he's going to build a bomber. The bomber would be very good, could just chase them away. They'll run out of areas to run to. They can't like leave the island. This Padawan's going to do really well. There's not enough DPS from these. They've only got +1. I don't think you can really kite out the Padawan. Trying to get another worker before they get killed themselves. Oh, he's almost tried to trap it there with that prefab. But in the end, there's still these destroyer and this frigate just sitting outside here. And I don't really think there's any utility trawlers anymore for Interceptor, which means he's had to go off and do some farming. In expanding fronts though, the Naboo are really strong with their farms because they get all the upgrades for the farms for free. And you can see this, the Gungan ratio, which is really nice on maps like this because it saves you space. So you can build all your underwater prefabs here, rather than have them take up space, you know, on your limited land. Though in the grand scheme of things, KissM has infinite land because he's got the centre as well. He's got very good vision if we look around. Particularly like around the centre and around his base in this sort of northern quadrant. And he's built a lot of air up here in the centre now. He's taken the air dominance from the Naboo. He's only got the one air base. And he spent a lot of ore on these light turrets that aren't really doing too much for him because there's not a huge amount of like ships causing him problems. And they're going to get outscaled in T4 anyway when the cruisers hit because of their range. Building an anti-air turret, so he's got at least one safe place to hide from these. Still not seen any of the holocrons picked up. I do see command center slammed down in the center here. And if you look at all this resources, you can grab up so much Nova and ore. Center really important on this map, I would feel. See, he doesn't really want to rely on the fish anymore. He's just going to build all these aqua harvesters. So basically just like super farms for the trawlers here. You can see they grab the food from it and deposit it back into the shipyard. So there was a little bit of a raid here. Some of the fighters, we can see Interceptor now, he's going to be sneaking over and getting those hollows. So the hollow is going to be really important for the Naboo player because they get this 33% hollow generation bonus, and he's not really paying attention to the Padawan. There we go. He needs to be grabbing these as well. He can. It's almost griefing of his opponent here, Kiss, not grabbing these up, because by grabbing them up, not only does he get the Nova, but he can really deny the Naboo player getting it. And if he gets a couple of these hollows, it can be an absolute menace because he can afford Jedi and stuff. And just not very attentive though. He's dropped it over. He just needs to put it back in, get back onto the island, and grab some more while he can. The command center dropping here. A couple of anti-air destroyer boats here just to protect his harvesters from the Naboo Air Force. I don't really think there is much of them. I can't see any fighters. And I think both the players are getting a little bit passive now and just thinking about their ecos and stuff. Maybe going to load off and get that Padawan back onto the center again. He needs to get those holocrons. I think they're going to be super important for him with the way that he's playing, because he's not playing a very strong macro game, but him getting, you know, like free stuff is going to mean a lot to him. Just having all this free Nova to fall back on, and he can, you know, shift it around in the spaceport to the resources that he needs. Can cover for that problem in his gameplay. Oh, look, there's more landed porgs that you can actually eat. They do look tasty. Annoying noise though. And a couple of mech destroyers here. Maybe doesn't want that ever happening again. I kind of think he's maybe gearing up for some sort of invasion as he starts to land here. Absolutely within vision though of these sensor posts. So KissM does see this happening, and it looks like he is sort of marshalling some forces around to his command centers and preparing for this, but Interceptor is going to get the command center up here and get his foothold in the center of the map. But not much yet. I'm wondering what KissM's going to do to deal with this. He does have a heavy weapons factory. He's built a lot of anti-air, maybe a little bit too much anti-air, considering he's got his own air force as well. I mean, he's got about the same amount of fighters, but he's already got 5 anti-air mobiles out. He's got a bunch of anti-air troopers. I would much prefer him to see him build some artillery or a pummel from this heavy weapons factory and put the pressure onto Interceptor here. I do believe that the game broke down there, but we'll go for the second part of that, so don't worry. As I say, oh, he's put them in the wrong order. It says part 2 and part 1. They're round the wrong way. But we continue from this point. And we shall see what happens from here on. Again, not quite got his army together. Maybe put pressure on here. If we look at KissM's resources, he's got tons of food, Nova, and just to showcase that, he's clicked up to tech level 4. I think what's interesting here is he's got a lot of ore, and I think you could really just get a fortress up and just lock Interceptor out of this Nova and these resources here, and then start pummeling on the pressure onto the command center and trying to kill it off. The fortress as well, let him build a cannon. Cannon can be used to kill the command center. It's got a really strong core economy built up here of all these trawlers and the aqua harvesters. And there's not really been too much pressure applied to him. You can see these mech destroyers have been dropped off from the transport ship here. They don't really have much upgrades though, and they're not very good against the units that they're facing. So these heavy troopers from the Gungans are going to do wonderful here, even with the command center chipping in a little bit with those firing beams, but those mech destroyers are going to go down very easily. And I think Interceptor would be better off focusing on what his Civ is good at, which would be boats and air and Jedi. He's going to get another holocron, is he? Only a second one though, and there's still, you know, you could really get them all, really. There's 6 holos. Am I mental? Okay, I think there is 6 holos. There's 7. No, loads of holos. 8. Oh. 9. No, it's just a holo everywhere. I don't know where these have all come from. I don't remember seeing them earlier. Get the holos. Crazy good for Naboo. Again, a lot of army here. Well, he's getting his fortress up, he's going to get set up here. Interceptor, nowhere near tier 4 though, because he's not really got like a good enough food economy. It's hard for him since he's sort of given up on the concept of fishing, which I think is a bit of a blunder on his end, and he should definitely have a few boats going for it. It's a good way to utilise the space as well. Like having a setup like this is really nice. And it gives you an excuse to invest in a lot more boats and have fun, because you want to protect them. See the destroyers trying to kill off the strike mechs here. The frigates are missing, they don't have any of the war center upgrades, so the one that applies to them is the range one for mechs, which constitutes for ships as well, and it'll give them +1 range, +1 damage. It's really important. Then there's a few of the like boat ship techs, like the one that gives carry space, I believe gives you a little bit of armor as well, which a lot of people tend to forget. Which definitely makes a difference in these boat v boat fights. You can see the shield generator in the fortress has gone up here for KissM. I don't see any cannons yet. Don't see a shield generator yet from Interceptor. Might want to get one just to double the health of this fortress and sort of use the regen of the shield to negate some of the damage it's facing from this fortress. He's got a lot more range on his fort too, so as you can see, KissMs can reach interceptors, but he can't reach it back, so he can't fire at it back. 11 range versus 9. We've got a little bit of a fleet here. Interceptor is on his way to T4 now as well. So I can match KissM here with his technology, but he's building a lot of these heavy destroyers lying in wait. A few going to intercept here. Interceptor. The destroyers are going to face them, and that's fine, with the frigates doing a lot of damage to them as well. The standing army of frigates is good, but he's going to have to micro to deal with this many destroyers, I feel. And his own destroyers have just ran ahead. He's lost his anti-air boats that ran ahead as well. And I don't know if he really wants to take this on. I think he can win if he micros, but look at the way his army's moving. It's just splitting up awkwardly. No, he's microing though, and only half of the destroyers have engaged, which has made it really easy for him. He definitely walks this now. As you can see, by the time they actually get into range, they're just dead. But if they'd all fought as 7, they would have, you know, got in there. And the fortress has gone down here. I'm not even sure how. There's no way that fortress just... all these troopers? Maybe he garrisoned them and... oh, there's a cannon. That's what it is. Interceptor, despite winning those trades and doing a little bit of harassment here, he doesn't have enough to really get some damage done to KissM, and, you know, making a few destroyers, he's able to deal with that. He's built some fast fighters here though. He doesn't quite have the shields as yet, so this turret's actually going to prove, you know, a little bit menacing for him here. They do kill the workers very quickly, but it's not a big enough of an impact because there's a lot of workers here in the centre, and then there's all the boats as well, which have got anti-air destroyers with them. And unfortunately, Interceptor is just getting knocked off the centre here because he just doesn't have... these fighters would be better served maybe protecting them from these troopers. I do think Interceptor just needed to do a little bit better grabbing up holocrons and playing towards Jedi air, and maybe being a bit more patient with his boats. And I don't see why he needs to drop here as well, because there's a lot less presence here in the southern part of the map. And I think he could have just split this with KissM. He might maybe want the Nova, but I think if he gets all the holocrons, he doesn't even need to mine Nova. There's so many in his Naboo. You can see every game minute he gets 120 Nova. And, you know, he could double or triple that if he can grab these all up. He's trying to harass. He's got the shields now for the air, so it's a little bit more robust. It can tank a lot more shots and stuff. It's just being annoying and picking off things around the outskirts and Making KissM sort of turtle up a little bit more, buy him a lot more time, give him free room to maybe get into the centre, but I do think he needs to try and just come down to the southern area where he's not got his units. Did hear another holocron being picked up somewhere. What are these boys up to? Maybe get a bit more carbon from here. Clearing up these sensors with the frigate. I think both players definitely need to be making bigger fleets, though. Being these really strong navy civs. Gungans in particular. Strongest thing that you can really do with Gungans on maps like this is you can sit with your frigates and your cruisers, and then you can build shield generators like on the coastlines. Double the HP of them, and then just make a death ball that just can't really be engaged properly. Because there's not really any way for someone to engage you with a shield in those positions. So you're just going to have double HP by default. I just think it'd be cool if the devs maybe made it like a mobile shield on the water or something like that. It is, however, trickier to defend your shield from the cruisers because they'll have such good range. You see these strike mechs that actually kill off a lot of workers here. I guess I'm not really microed them away or garrisoned them or anything, so just lots and lots of dead glurglings there. But again, he still has the centre entirely to himself. He has lots of anti-air units just everywhere. I think he might have been better just building anti-air turrets though, saving the population and the other resources for other things. And he gets to eat all this ore in Nova as well, so you could definitely afford it having all the ore in the centre. And you could turn some of the excess Nova into ore as well. While the spaceport is still favourable. A few more workers looking at land here. Cool little hovel house thing there. A rock igloo. Drying some meat, I think, or tanning some hides there on the rack. So maybe some fish drying out as well. Not too much going on at the moment. KissM's just really overdone it with his anti-air, I think. I'm just looking at it like, can we get a count? 38 ships and only 15 submarines, so is that 23 anti-air boats? Mostly. It's just an odd destroyer. He's definitely going to struggle against if there's a lot of fighters out. Oh, the assault mech being dropped in the centre. That's going to do some really big damage to these boats here. The assault mech's going to be very strong against... Oh, he does get a lot of mech destroyers out though. There's a lot more than I thought he did. The two. It's a nice volley there on the troopers though, trades well. I'm going to kill off these strike mechs too. You can see the damage does ramp up from the mech destroyers though. And these two just not wanting to join the fight. And where do we stand in terms of Interceptor and his holocrons? He's up to 3, but as you can see there's still 3 very near him that he kind of knows about. Is there one here that I just can't see? No, this is a white object for some reason. Nah. You can see it on the economic map. Still 4 or so on this side, and then there's one up here as well. You could grab all those. Famba shield generator going to be joining the forces down the centre here as Interceptor has actually finally landed on the south here. But unfortunately, his little sortie attack here has caused KissM to move units down to this area where he's going to find them. He's going to get the command center up, but there's not really much for him to deal with these mech destroyers. A couple of grenadiers and a crusader here. Maybe going to kill off some of these. They struggle against the crusaders. Sometimes they've been able to do enough damage to them. These are not royal crusaders, however. They don't have their personal shielding. But, you know, it's going to make him retreat a little bit and buy him some time. So I think he should really desperately get a fortress up. 3 Fambas? Come on, that's excessive. There's not even enough units to shield for 3 Fambas. There's one strike mech there that really helped the crusader, but he's just ignoring it for just now. Ah, we do see some advanced cruisers now. You see that 19 range down here at the bottom. And that's just going to start peppering these buildings that InterceptorZ built here in the centre. He's a little bit taxed trying to transport units over back and forth. And this army having these mobile shields is going to be way too strong. You need masters for this, really. The masters could convert the Fambas away. And this looking like a disaster for Interceptor here. Don't think he's going to get his fortress up too many units here. Once they all aggro onto the workers, he's trying to build it up and he's trying to make more workers to build it, but they're all going to die. And oh my god, I've been building a lot of cruisers. This is too many cruisers, to be honest. So, I mean, if Interceptor just wants to kill his entire fleet, he just needs to make like 10 destroyers. Because the cruisers can't do anything about them, and the rest of the boats are just anti-air destroyers. So typically you want probably about a third of this, half if you really want a lot of cruisers. But you need to have your frigates with it as well, so that they can just gun down any destroyers that try to take your boats down. See, they do move very slow, but they do a ton of damage to buildings and at great range. Pummel's getting involved here, killing off the buildings. And that'll be Interceptor once again banished from the centre of the map. And he's going to have a real problem now because he doesn't have anything to kill off all these boats. Like we've seen that KissM's really hit his sort of late game stride here with all the resources he's had in the centre. And he's just got a huge standing army. He's got a big ground force and then he's got a big naval force as well. And there's not really much of anything for Interceptor here, so it's looking a little bit doomed for him. I think if he absolutely wanted to win from this position, he would just have to get a few more holocrons, get a big fleet of destroyers, upgrade them, and just kill off this entire navy, which is just completely, it just dies to destroyers. It's really a poor decision to not have anything there, but you know, it doesn't have the destroyers out to deal with it. But these things have got like a minimum range as well, they can't deal with it at all. And then I would use masters, I think, to stall out this army and stop it ever landing or anything like that in the centre. But he's not going to feel much pressure to land while he's able to pepper the base here with the cruisers. Rather just keep this in the centre as a martial force to respond to any sort of invasions. Oh, these are like nerfs, are they? They're capturable. Orange porgs. Oh, he does have frigates. Where did they come from? I've been able to see them. So they go invisible. Well, he's going to need a lot of destroyers now to deal with this. I think Gungan naval superiority here. You see, he's trying to get them out. He's going to need like 20 or so though, and just catch these guys unprepared. If we can get 3 or 4 times this amount, could wipe everything. A little bit pressed for carbon though. Not a huge robust eco, only 43 workers. Kind of a third of what you would want. KissM's going to see that he's got all these destroyers now. Don't split them up! No! Together! All of them! All of them together. And don't fight here, where he can shoot at you from the coast. Okay, where are the frigates? Out of position, I think. Yep, they're out. They're up with this North army, and they're gonna he's gonna lose all this. So this is a great move from Interceptor here. All these armies are split up, and he's running the destroyers away because they're the ones that could actually, you know, realistically get away. But no losses there for Interceptor. He needs to micro though, because he's running over to try and attack ground units in the centre, which is just, he's going to lose all these if he doesn't micro them. And he should make some more and try and just flank this position, kill off the frigates. There's a lot of boats to tank for the frigates though, so I think they might actually just win. And he's trying to kite now, he's microing back and forth, which is the kind of the strength here. And Interceptor going to call GG off of that because he can't just deal with the rest of the naval forces here, because you can see he's lost so much of his base. So GG, well played to both players there. Interesting map, fun map, and pick some fun civs for it as well. And yeah, I've got another game here that they've played, so we'll hop into that one. This one's not too long, it's on Felucia. Felucia, one of those maps from the Clone Wars, or planets from the Clone Wars rather. Weird looking elephant rhino things, which are nerfs. Gonna munch those a little bit too far from the command center, but same civs again here. So Interceptor is Naboo, and KissM here is the Gungans. The elephants, mini elephants. See a food processor and an animal nursery for KissM here. Hope he doesn't get himself. Got to build that really far from those. He doesn't get himself housed here, because he shouldn't really have any carbon now. He needs to get another 15. I suppose he's not really got any food, so he's gonna have a bit of an idle command center for a while. So it'll work out for him in a sense. Interceptor should do a little bit better, get the workers queued up here, although he's got that ridiculous walking distance. It is over now, but he's got the extra 2 workers or so queued up. And if we look at this map, it's kind of like a different sort of swamps, you know. The centre looks like there's a lot of opportunity for boats. And all these shallows you can go through, because they're just a sort of crossing that land units can cross, but the boats can slide through them as well. And yeah, you could really control the centre with boats and stuff. There's not much to be gained from the centre other than just like, there's a lot of food, I guess. Oh, these like snails and slugs that are like Eopies. Looks like a good fishing map though when you look at all the shore fish. I think Gungans would really be actually quite good at just not even fishing, but just dropping food processors in the centre and just shore fishing their way. You can get a really sort of fast T2, fast T3 off that, or maybe an early rush. It'll save you a bit of carbon there, since you're not having to get any farms or anything like that. So there's a couple of flumps that can be lured as well. And again, a lot of workers on food before getting this carbon processor. I guess something KissM maybe needs to work on with his early game. Because that early carbon would really help, because he would be getting like up to 150, 200 carbon by now. And then when this food runs out, you could think about, you know, dropping these food processors or fishing or something like that. And finding more of these galvas, these nerfs around. And Interceptor putting a lot of workers onto these berries. These berries are not going to last very long. You can see they're on there. They're almost about the same amount of food as these are, you see. This looks like a really fun map though, to play as Gungans and do like the food processor, shorefish crawl to your opponent. Difficult to close out the map though. Well, maybe not. You can wall this. You can wall this a little bit as well, and then it's just the centre. Seems to favour just an extra crossing on one side. Looks like KissM doesn't really want to do anything with the centre of the map though, the way that he's walling up here. Troop centre is getting dropped for Interceptor here. Wonder if he's going to get some early pressure here. See, all the trees are like these big sort of pitcher plants. I think they've got to be carnivorous the way they look. So yeah, a really cool look to it. It's just tricky for them to make the map look truly like Fallujah, because Fallujah's got this sort of weird lighting ambience that you can't really apply to a game like this. You know, it's very bright. The game's very bright. You know, it doesn't really have like an ambient atmosphere or changes in lighting. Every time I look at like pictures of Fallujah, it seems sort of dark. Like the light struggles to get through. A few troops being built here defensively, just for the both players. Nobody really getting any troops out on the map, being aggressive early. Power droid running around here. I think he's maybe building a shipyard. Yeah, he is. So you're going to get a little bit of extra food income with some utility trawlers here. Unfortunately for him, I think the Rancor is going to have something to say about this power droid, and is going to start slapping it in a second. He does see it. This is the most tame Rancor I've ever seen in my life. What is going on? There you go. I can't believe that guy was just sitting there though. Maybe he doesn't treat power droids the same as the other workers. I would have thought that as soon as that building was built, he would have went mental on it, but he's going to chase this Glargling around to the troops, fortunately, to be able to gun that Rancor down. And I believe there were more troops for Interceptor in his base, and I don't know where they are because everything in the centre is so green. Ah, to use the little mini-map changes. So he's here and he's coming to glide, and on the other hand, oh. So KissM sent his troops over to Interceptor, but Interceptor had a bit more, which intercepted them. No pun intended, I guess. But yeah, got a really good trade there, he didn't lose anything. And now his 5 troopers are going to get on top of KissM here. He does have a turret though, so they're limited in what they can do because they don't have the craziest TPS, but they kill 1 worker and the rest garrison, and by then they've lost 2 down to 2 troopers and there's just no DPS there anymore. The other 5 are going to join up with them. A couple of them are half health though. That'd be best for Interceptor to maybe kill these off. You'll have to kill this Rancor first though. Let's chase them. If you could get on top of this position, start harassing from this side, it would be much better rather than into the turret. Does prevent the sentry post going down, but there's a defender's advantage now as these troopers build up to come and take the fight to him. And he's going to have to leave here, but he does have more on the way. And looking like he's a lot more comfortable with doing sort of like T2 rushing here on this map. So he's got 2 troop centres down. Does have the elevation bonus here, so he's going to walk this fight very comfortably. And then he's going to look to apply more pressure here. KissM here is going to be struggling. You can see there's so much food built up here for Interceptor, because he's got all these nerfs housed in the nursery, but then he gets his free farm upgrade for his farmers too, so they're being a little bit more efficient, a bit more food on the farms as well. And he's going to get off to tech level 3. KissM was cutting corners though. He only built the 1 troop centre. He's never built as much troops as Interceptor, so with his own nerfs ticking away here, and more importantly his ships that he's built, all these utility trawlers, he's almost a T3 himself. So interesting to see what the players decide to do when they hit T3, because the game's sort of changing into a different sort of manner here. A lot more nerfs just been found here in the centre, walking across, avoiding the troops fortunately, so that'll be a nice bit of food income added. Basically another 50% nerfs. Interceptor marshalled his forces back home, building a turret here at his Nova. It's kind of smart. That'll really help him out if some strike mechs come his way. The Nova's going to be really important for him as Naboo, I would say, especially if he goes into like air tech. And you can see strike mech being built here for KissM. No added command centers or anything like that. He's done a nice little job here walling around the sides though. He's got this area is all very safe for him. You know, if you want to come in this area with ground force, you've got to go through the command center and the turret. But with a Naboo player, you would be expecting air, and he's going to drop a mech factory, even though he has T3 now. So no air bases. I think things are definitely going into KissM's favour now, as he's got the bolts here, so it's like he's had a secret command centre pumping out workers for him. And he's going to drop CC now, so it's like he's on 3 command centres. Whereas Interceptor, it's going to be on like 2. Get some Grenadiers and a Mech Destroyer just for this one strike mech that's not really going to get much done at all. Doesn't have the DPS to kill any workers. And we're going to get the air base here from KissM. After he's done it, he's basically used a strike mech to do a little bit of scouting of his opponent, see what he's up to. And he's seeing those defensive units like the Mech Destroyer and stuff, so he's thinking, maybe if I make some air, I can do a bit more damage with that. And with the way things currently stand, with Interceptor not making any air bases himself, he's got no anti-air at all. There is going to be room for KissM to get some damage that way. He's building 3 fighters queued up here, so one pops out. And he's managed to find more nerfs somewhere as well. He's gotten up to 20 here, which is going to be double what Interceptor has here. So that's just free food. See, every minute he's going to get 242 food there. Oh, 243 actually. That is a lot of food. Just for free. No workers involved. Very little investment, just 100 carbon for each nursery. Second Mech Destroyer now, third Mech Destroyer actually for Interceptor. Very tight against the mech harassment, but as we can see, he's not going to be doing that much more. Really unambitious with this fortress. I don't think this is necessary at all. I think we better get in this in the centre. Play a really strong Gungan game here. If you got to T4, you got some cruisers, and what I would like to do is like get a fortress here and get some shield generators and stuff, and you know, sit the army there. And sort of combine the navy and the ground forces together, because the shallows allow you to get so close to the base. I mean, you can pretty much kill everything with cruisers, really. It's like a really fun map to utilise navies in. And here come those fighters that have been built up from that one air base. And as we said before, Interceptor has no anti-air. He didn't build any of his own air bases. He's got none of his own standing air force. And these workers are going to go down. Basically for free, because there's nothing to shoot, nothing that can look up. Does build this anti-air turret on his carbons. His carbons at the very least safe. But this command center is going to get denied for a while here. This one could get shut down as well, and all the workers might have to garrison. This one's already garrisoned, and there's nothing to protect his troopers here as well. I have to run them to the anti-air turret. He's trying to build a heavy weapons factory, so his intention maybe to get an anti-air mobile to move it around these areas. So he desperately tries to build another anti-air turret now here at this other command center. Fortunately, this power droid is just being chased around by the air at the moment, which is buying him a lot of time to get this built. That's going to make this feel like not like an outright loss here for Interceptor, but he's definitely falling behind economically. The anti-air mobile is out here, pushing away the fighters, and the workers can go back to work, but still don't have anyone over there building up the command center yet. These fighters are going to try and run away, but they do all die. KissM playing sort of similar to the other game. There's Aqua Harvesters. It's got a few frigates out here. Use them to wander around in the centre. Build some Fambas and some troopers. So the Famba is a really strong unit in T3 because it's just got this insane 20/20 armour here. Hipster Fambas. And a few mech destroyers to join them, and he's built a few more fighters as well to go back on the harassment here. He got some really good results out of that. He caused a lot of damage, he delayed a command centre, he's forced 2 anti-air turrets, and he's forced 3 anti-air mobiles and a heavy weapons factory. So that all really adds up. Interceptor trying to make best use out of this. He's got his anti-air mobiles that he can use to then make the army aggressive and keep it safe. He's going to build some artillery as well. KissM now is going to do some prodding with the strike mechs that he's built up here, which can maybe get some good damage if he goes far left of the base and doesn't collide with the trooper force or the mech destroyers here that are sitting on the right hand side of the entrance. I think if he goes up this way, he can get some damage here on the northern command centre. Three Fambas, that's a lot of Fambas. Is that meant to double? All I can hear is Famba noises. Weird. It's up to 4 Fambas, no, it's just 3. So sending 2 with the army, getting them into the centre here. He has hit T4, so he's got a heavy strike mech upgrade. At the same time, Interceptor's actually making his way to KissM's base here. And he's going to pull the forces back and maybe try and hold him at this crossing. As it looks like they are about to collide here on the crossing. And the army does look a lot stronger for KissM, but he's sort of split his shields away, so he's losing his shields. But again, his actual ground forces here are a lot stronger than this, because this is mostly just troopers, and troopers are going to be terrible against heavy strike mechs. The artillery doing a bit of damage here. He's got a few artillery here, he's just going to retreat everything, I think. Oh, he's decided to send these in, but the shield generator does get there, and the health is already climbing at already 50% more. And these units are so slow, they're just going to die trying to retreat. These are not like the strongest units for Naval. I think Interceptor needs to try and play the Civ's strength a bit more. Which should really be the air, the Jedis. You could go like Knights, grab up the Holocrons, get the extra Nova. Like, I think Navu are, in their current state in expanding fronts, extremely strong. Because of the free farm upgrades they're getting, and you could get that bonus Holocron Nova, and then that just, it bleeds so well into getting to tech level 4. Just building like food and Nova units, you know, which is like their Crusaders, their Jedi, their air, you know, assault mechs and stuff. You can just play a really tight defensive game, but be really far ahead economically, really. You get a lot of options from all that. So the air harassment, keeping Interceptor's attention away from his army. That's KissM now colliding. He's actually attacking him at 2 different points. I do think it'd be better to have his units together here, though. As the artillery and mech destroyers doing some decent damage to this army. They're going to struggle to kill off the Fambas, though. The troopers are actually going to kill 2 houses before they start hitting something valuable, which would be this anti-air turret in this command centre. It's the garrison, though, so that's a lot of workers just not working now. There's a lot of workers still garrisoned up the top here as well from the air harassment. But he is routing this force that attacked here in the shallows. And this is what I mean about how strong these Fambas are. Like, look at their health and their shield. It takes so many shots in T3. They're crazy strong. It's just nuts as a T3 unit when it comes to these like mech v mech skirmishes. Really strong. Nothing to stop the troopers here though. If he just had some air, you know, like the air could kill all this. It wouldn't be a problem. Oh, some assault mechs getting involved now as well, which is going to do some really good damage to the artillery. Really add some nice AoE damage to this army here. The troopers are running out of the shield generator, getting kited by these strike mechs, which are going to sort of kill them very quickly if they tread too far. KissM's got a lot more buildings down now though. He's got a little forward here as well, the fortress. And the cannon, shield generator. So he's just got a lot more than Interceptor here. I think Interceptor's sort of just getting outscaled here by KissM's economy and production. He's not going to be able to defend 2 fronts at a time. And he's really going to have nothing to do with these assault mechs. Which, as Naboo, you would really want Masters. Masters are kind of the big thing that you would want here at this point in the game. Is to convert the Famba shield generators and convert the assault mechs as well. And then just keep them in like a shield with fortress with maybe an air cruiser, and you can have your little standing army of strike mechs, mech destroyers, etc. You just got to play really sort of defensive and you just out trade your opponent. You know, it's all about cost efficiency, particularly if you've got the holocrons and stuff as well. You get all that free Nova. And then you use your units to just take good trades and make them waste their resources while you get free stuff. And GG going to be called there for Interceptor, but fun, well played game there from both players, and yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. We'll keep doing these as long as people play them on the Discord, so you'll find a link down to the Expanding Fronts Discord down below, and my own sort of GBG community Discord as well. Yeah, if you like the content, please consider subscribing to the channel, liking the video, leaving a comment. It really helps the channel out. If you want to support the channel in another way, there's a PayPal link down below if you'd like to buy me a coffee, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, bye bye.